Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Keith here from Commander Hoops. If this is your first time coming across the channel, please do like and subscribe. So I'm going to talk about a couple of players that could be on the way out the door at Celtic. Will I even a ball kicked in pre-season yet under Brendan Rodgers' regime? And we're going to talk about players as well that could make us a bit of dollar as well. I've mentioned this guy a couple of times in the channel, so let's kick it off. Stephen Welsh, 1 year left in his contract, 23 years of age, Celtic centre back. Couple of clubs in Italy in Serie A, the likes of Bologna and Verona, are interested in signing him. Reportedly, the fee is around £3 million. These two clubs are battling now to get his signature. I think it's a great move for him. At the end of the day, he didn't play much football under Ange. He could be different under Brendan. He could be a part of Brendan's plans. Brendan likes bringing the youth through and developing players. And I know Stephen Welsh in Neil Lennon's last season was pretty good, considering the season we had. He was one of our best players on the field that season. I think it's time for Welsh to move on. The reason why, he's going to play in a superior league to the Scottish Premiership, and also the competition he's going to be playing against the likes of the Inter Milans, the Romas, the Juventus, the Lazios, the AC Milans in there, the Florentinas. And if he goes out there, it means if he's getting consistent minutes and he's playing first team football, Steve Clarke will be knocking at the door and saying you deserve an international call up. So take the $3 million, let him move on. He's obviously came through the youth system and we done well with him. Obviously, he was the first goal scorer of last season against Aberdeen, but I wish Welchie the best if he does go. He's been a good servant to the club and I wish him nothing but the best. Liel Abada reports yesterday that he snubbed the new deal. He's currently away at the moment with his missus, enjoying the time before he goes back to pre-season with Celtic. 2 years left in his deal, 21 years of age. Just gone the last transfer window, the likes of Southampton and Crystal Palace were scouting around trying to sign him, and reported the fee was around £12 million. For him being 21, playing national football, a senior level, Champions League experience, helping Celtic score 16 goals last season, over nearly 50 appearances last season. I think we should be aiming higher, especially if it's English football. They want to make a mockery out of the Scottish League called a Farmers League, but yet they're sniffing around and want these players and put them in their first team. We should be demanding more. And I'm looking at, for Liel Abada, I'm looking at around 18 million. Some people might say, dig your head in the mud, Keith, he's not worth that money. But from a young perspective, I think he's worth that money, especially if a club like Crystal Palace is coming in. If Southampton are still sniffing around, even though they're championship now, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Abada. I think he will go, definitely. You look at when we won the league at Tynecastle, he just didn't look. You could see in his eyes that this was last season at Celtic, and I just think it's down to minutes as well. He didn't really start as much games that he did the previous season in his first season. And talked about obviously rotating the squad, calling upon players, and he did come out and say one time, Ange, that he wasn't expecting to use Liel the way he thought it was going to be. Down to injuries, we had to use him, and some crucial goals he scored. That winner against Dundee United, some really good goals. And if he does go and we make over 15 million, even though I think 18 million be right price tag from, it's a winner for Celtic. That's looking at potentially 20 odd million, and then our transfer kitty on top of that as well would be good. I'm going to talk about more money that could be on the way to the club. Jeremy Frimpong, a guy that we've signed for 350,000 quid from Man City back in 2019. A guy that we say, oh my days, played at the club for a year and a half and then moved to Bayern Leverkusen. The likes of Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich are sniffing around for the Bayern Leverkusen right back. Got called up for the World Cup squad for Holland, 22. Reportedly Leverkusen are putting a price tag on this guy of 35 million. Xabi Alonso's team are putting 35 million quid on this guy. And you know what? I'm not surprised. He's quite young, quite pacey, consistent as well. I know he had a couple of injuries a couple of months back, but he got back into the team. He still played nearly 50 odd games for Bayern Leverkusen, and he was a massive part, some amount of goals he scored for them as well, for being a right back. So if he goes to any of these clubs for that fee, Celtic will pocket 6 million quid off this. And you know what? I wish Jeremy all the very best as well. He seemed like a humble guy, and obviously didn't really work well for him. We took the 12 million at the time from Leverkusen, and look, we're still gonna make another few quid off it if he goes. So happy days. So let me know what you think. Who would just like to leave the club? I know, like, we've talked about the likes of Alvin Yeti in the channel. We've talked about the likes of Sorrow. Some people want Turnbull to move on. Some people want Scales to move on. You know, it's not for me to say. It's not for any of us to say. At the end of the day, it's what the club wants moving forward. And if some of these players are part of Brendan Rodgers' plans and they impress in pre-season and they had that conversation behind closed doors and they know that they're going to be an asset instead of being a deficit to the club or a liability for the club, we'll see what happens. You know, at the end of the day, I think everyone deserves a chance. Regardless, they went on loan stints like the likes of Mikey Johnson or Liam Scales. Come back, impress, give them a couple of games in pre-season away in Japan and South Korea, and then Brendan will say, well, look, this player can go to another level and I need him at my club, or either this player needs to go to somewhere else to develop himself in some aspect of playing maybe in the Championship in England or going overseas, like as I said about Welsh. So that's really it for me. Do subscribe